Hello. How are you? I think you're muted, Tina. Okay, well, let's do this. Hello, Tina.
Hi. Hi.
How are you?
I'm well. So, Chad, I'm so excited to meet you.
How's it going?
I've heard a lot of good things about you. I work on the Gibbs campus.
Hello.
Hi. I keep clicking on him. All right. It says you can. All right. So, anyways, I've said it twice. I'm so excited to meet you. I work on the Gibbs campus. Have you ever seen me?
I think you do look familiar. Hey, I do want to let you know I am also streaming this to YouTube. I'm gonna have to let everybody know that in a second. There's a class that wants to watch this and they're on Zoom and they weren't able to connect that way. So I just wanted to let you know.
Oh, good. Thank you. Cause thank you. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. No, so it hasn't, have you started live streaming it?
Not yet. I'm waiting a couple more minutes. Let me, in a minute, I'll share my screen so everything works that way.
Yes.
So.
How many participants are you expecting in this meeting?
Well, I mean, there was probably 30 or 40 that have registered for it. So.
But anyways, let me get back to what I was trying to say. I'm excited to meet you because they said, oh, Chad does a lot of trainings. He knows a lot of stuff. And, that's what I want, somebody who does a lot of stuff, who knows stuff.
I gotcha. Mm-hmm. Cool. Well, welcome to today. So this should be fun. I'm going to give it a couple more minutes just to make sure things are working. And then I'll go ahead and get started. So
do you want me to mute myself?
Okay.
Do you want me to mute my?
Yep. And I'll turn my video off here shortly too.
All right. So you want me to mute my camera or everything, mute both?
I would probably mute both.
Okie dokie. That's what I'll do.
Yep. All right. So it's 11:01. Excuse me. Excuse me. Okay. So what I'm going to do, we got another person coming in. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. And there we go. Excuse me. Okay. Excuse me. I'm going to give another minute or so before we get started. For those of you that are in Zoom, I just want to let you know I am streaming this also to YouTube for a class, so they can actually watch it also inside Zoom. They weren't able to do both. So I just want you to know that that's also going out to YouTube. So I'm going to go ahead and turn off my camera and start the presentation. Excuse me. Okay. So, man, excuse me. So can everybody see my screen? Hopefully. Oh, and for those of you, by the way, that are on YouTube, there is a slight delay, so you know. Okay. Give me another minute and we'll see what's going on here. Okay, Shirley, thanks for letting me know. I appreciate it. All right, so there's that. Okay. All right, so what I'm going to go ahead and do is go ahead and get started. Let me make sure that this is all here. Okay. All right, so for those of you that are here, I appreciate you coming today. I'm going to go ahead and get started. So we're going to talk about next generation collaboration. And so what I want to do is explain what XR is and what it's capable of doing, and then invite you later on to meet me inside virtual reality if you want. And we don't need to do it today. We can do it whenever it's convenient. We're going to look at how extended realities are changing everything from gaming to education. And then, like I said, we can experience the potential of, in one case, Spatial, which is a program I've been beta testing for almost 2 years now. And it's a virtual augmented reality meeting platform that enables people to collaborate in a 3D virtual environment from anywhere on Earth. And with the pandemic, this type of meeting has been huge, gaining tons of traction because it's 3-dimensional and you get to work and interact with people in 3 dimensions, and it doesn't matter where they are. So it's kind of, I've had this thing called Zoom fatigue, and it really it is what it is. So anyway, let's get into this. So immersive technologies, really all you need to know is that they imitate or extend our physical world via digital simulations, and that gives us the sense of immersion. So to be completely absorbed into something. And then XR, I mentioned earlier, stands for extended reality. And so the X is a variable that can stand for anything. And right now that includes 360-degree imagery, virtual reality, true virtual reality, augmented reality. Mixed reality is more of the Microsoft term. And then you've also got spatial computing, which is very similar to mixed reality, but that's the term that Magic Leap used. And you got holograms and all this. So extended reality is the full spectrum of immersive technology. So there's a lot encompassing that tech. So here's just a little video. I'm not going to play the whole thing, but it's kind of interesting to see some of this stuff in action. So here's a VR advertisement I did for a class that I presented inside VR. So what better place to learn about virtual reality than actually inside virtual reality? I think that's the way to go. Here's a 3D scan I did of my son many years ago, and I was able to import that into VR. And again, this is 2 dimensions. It doesn't really do it any justice. When you're in that space and you see it, everything all encompassed, it's pretty amazing. And then here's, watching a painter or a designer doing their work in VR, and you're actually in VR with them, watching them paint. And what's neat about this is you can change the perspective. You can make this very, very large or very tiny. You can speed things up if you want. You can slow things down, but this is a really interactive way. And here's me and a colleague in another 3D meeting space, actually interacting with 3D content. So really kind of a cool way to interact. Here's some research possibilities inside VR, where you can get people and interact with content, and not just in a linear fashion. It can be all around you. It's kind of an interesting way to do research. So you can see they're selecting different parts. And so here's another meeting space. This is, you can see at the screen at the bottom that I'm actually using the camera on my VR headset to show my space, my physical space. So people, you can see a person down there, they're in VR, but they're seeing my real world. So we're going to get into the metaverse here in a few. And this is really kind of cool tech. And then here's the mobile version. So you'll learn later that you don't have to have a VR headset. You can actually be on your phone, or you can use your desktop computer, whatever it is. You don't necessarily have to be in VR space or 3D space. It's more immersive and it's more engaging that way. And then here's volumetric video. We'll talk a little bit about this in a little bit. This is live. So people are actually wearing these headsets and seeing this volumetric video, which is capturing all of those points of light simultaneously. So, and it's similar to volumetric video is photogrammetry, which is what you're seeing now too. And you can walk around this space. It looks like you're actually there on these streets in VR. So we're actually doing some 3D scanning stuff that you'll see here in a few minutes too, that gives you this photorealistic tour. Now, obviously, I would much rather be in that place, but if you can't make it, this is the next best thing. And then here's Spatial. This was the augmented reality version of it when it first came out. Like I said, I've been beta testing this for a while, but I'm moving all this stuff around with my fingers, and I'm doing voice searches. Early on, you saw that gentleman there. That was his hologram, and he actually looks very similar to that in real life. So you can see I'm moving 3D content around. You can still see my physical surroundings, but I can meet with people from all over the world, and I have. It's really kind of cool to be in your living room and meeting with people from all over the world. And then this is just some really kind of clever prototyping here. You can see some of this digital content that we're actually seeing in the real world. And so when we start getting more and more into the metaverse, which is pretty amazing stuff, you're going to start to see this kind of thing. It's very science fiction like. Science fiction has been talking about this kind of stuff for a while, but we're now there. We're actually getting to this point, and it's really exciting for me. The potential here for education, by the way, is huge. So the question is, can immersive technologies improve learning and provide more engaging collaborative experiences? And I think the answer is an emphatic yes. What I would recommend, even if you're not a teacher, to look at these reports through EDUCAUSE. One is learning in 3 dimensions, and then one is XR for teaching and learning. And just one kind of little nugget that I got from these reports is like, when you start using extended realities or 3D content, you can do things that you can't do in the real world. So like I can magnify and walk inside an atomic structure, or I can create a 3D replica of the room I'm in and let other people from all over the world be in that same room. Or I can go into forbidden places. Like I can go into a cave that only a camera can go in and capture 360 content. Now I can actually walk around in that cave, which in reality, I probably wouldn't be able to safely do that. So, and also making solid things invisible. So for learning, this type of technology is just incredible. Lots of possibilities here. So if you have time, definitely check out those reports. Oh, and by the way, I will send you this presentation too. Okay, so augmented reality, that's an overlay of computer-generated content onto the real world. So Pokemon Go is like a really good example. But anyway, the digital content does not recognize or respond to those physical objects that are in the real world. And here's a pretty cool example. This is Snapchat. I'll play this. I think I have it muted. Yeah. And let me fast forward a little bit. So they scanned a lot of the content, like physical buildings, but then with this app, Snapchat, looking through your phone, your camera lens, you can now do all kinds of amazing things on top of that. So there's a concept, metaverse, I've already said it, but there's also this mirror world, like a mirror world, like it's got every digital object has got its twin, and so pretty soon you're going to start seeing this kind of stuff where it looks completely real. If you're inside VR, or in this case, augmented reality, you can walk around, see the physical buildings. They've already been mapped out. Now you can use your device and paint the buildings like they're doing here. Really kind of cool stuff. Lots of potential for artists and entertainment too. Eventually, we're going to have small glasses to wear, and we'll be able to do this without really looking through the lens of our phone. We'll be able to just kind of look like we would naturally, and that's exciting. And that's actually coming really soon. So here's another couple examples of how to learn in 3D. So on the left side, me and one of my interns, we have a digital cadaver inside the space. And you can see as I'm looking at the different parts, it's changing. It's identifying each part of the body. And as I look deeper into the body, I can dissolve parts of it away and then go inside that digital cadaver, which is really kind of neat. And the co-location part of it is nice because my student volunteer, you might be able to see him in a minute. He's wearing a completely different headset. He's got a Magic Leap on, and I'm wearing a HoloLens, and we're both able to see this digital cadaver in our space. Now, he could be in Portugal. He could be in Portugal, and we could both be interacting with this 3D object in real time, which is really kind of neat. The video over here on the right is 2 students. You can see them right there using a Magic Leap and a HoloLens. They're interacting with that heart. I'm looking at the heart on an iPad, so I can still see what they're doing. I'm not immersed in it though. I'm not able to take parts of the heart apart and make them huge and actually walk inside the heart. What was cool is these students told me they came back and they aced their anatomy and physiology exam. Studying this way for them was amazing. And you don't really forget this kind of experience if you're taking parts of a heart apart and watching the blood flow and all this. You're not going to forget that that experience. So, and there's lots of research, and I don't have anything listed here. If you want that, I can send it to you. I have it somewhere. That just shows that people do learn more experientially than they do by just like reading a book or something. So then virtual reality is a computer that's trying to trick your brain into believing that you're in a different environment. So you're inside a simulation now. And then we've got headsets that use 6 degrees of freedom, and that's what gives you the whole room VR experience. So 3DOF is 3 degrees of freedom. So that's sort of like the Google Cardboard when you use just your phone. As you look around the room, it's the room kind of moves around with you, with your phone. 6 degrees of freedom, the room is a simulation. It's there. You can walk, you can look around all directions and be completely immersed in that space. So 6 degrees of freedom versus 3 degrees of freedom. Both are pretty cool, but obviously 6 degrees of freedom, you're way more immersed in whatever it is that you're engaging in. Just a couple little things here. I love, and this was pre-COVID, but I love showing people virtual reality for the first time. And so we've started cataloging a bunch of our VR apps. So a student can actually do a search, and then let's say they're doing a search for Stonehenge, and they found some books and they found some articles. Well, they can search and see, oh wow, there's like a VR experience. So then they can actually go on a virtual reality field trip to Stonehenge, and that again is a really great experience, a learning experience for them. And then this is a nice little story. Is this student came in, he was blind in one eye, and he wanted to do virtual reality, but he didn't think he could do it. He didn't think it would work, but anyway, he put it on, and he said that it actually helped increase his peripheral vision in his functioning eye. So he was able to then do all this 3D painting in this program called Tilt Brush, and he loved it. You can kind of tell by the smile here. So there's a lot of medical and health benefits too to VR, and it also psychological benefits too in training and simulations and that sort of thing. Here's one of the things that I'm working on with Rick Hill. He's an IT guy, I think, on the the Tarpon campus. And he's working on creating a 3D design of the Lipa Ratner Museum, which is in Tarpon Springs. And so here's the program Spatial. And you can see that he's got some artwork in here. We're working with Louis Marcoya, who is a really very, very talented 3D artist. And he's got a 3D film that we're going to try to get viewable inside this space. So people can actually tour this exhibit from anywhere in the world, walk around, and see his artwork on the wall. Now, obviously, we're looking at this in 2 dimensions. It's so much more interesting when you're in 3D space to be able to see what's going on. But you can see I'm in a gallery and I'm walking around and I can see all his artwork. I can walk really close. I can take the artwork off the wall if I want to, since I have admin rights to it, and I can make it as big as I want it to be, and it looks really nice. So So you're going to start seeing more museums in this space as well. So there's my test here. I'm trying to figure out ways to view his 3D film inside VR, and we're getting closer, but it's really kind of fun to be working on these types of projects. Okay. Here's another thing that we worked on. So I created a 360-degree image, and I put it inside VR. So here's what it looks like. Here's the image. It's a sphere. I'm going to grab it with my virtual hand. I'm going to look at it. This is a static image. I know they've got animation in here now that actually moves around. So now I can kind of come in and I can bring this sphere into my VR space, and now I'm actually inside this classroom. So I can take a 3D or a 360 picture of anything, of my rehearsal space, my lab at school, whatever, and then be able to be inside that space virtually. And it looks just like the space I was in. Now, if I wanted to, I could take a photo with everyone out of the picture, and then it would be just like me hanging out inside that space. And then over here on the right is another program called Engage. And this was a VR tour. And there was quite a few of us in here. And so we're all in VR and we're touring this space. I mean, it's kind of neat to be able to fly over these waterfalls and to look around. And of course, you're seeing it from my perspective. Wherever I'm looking is where the camera is. And so you can see there's a lot of people in here with me. So class field trips, for example, would be very simple in this kind of space. And just so you know, it looks very high def and gorgeous inside VR. So this program here is called Engage, and you can just see how kind of amazing it is. And here we are, the whole group of us on the surface of Mars, and we're actually interacting with the Mars rover. So it's kind of a neat way to experience this in 3D. So, and then here's the meeting room. So we can actually all be in this little conference space and walk around that way. Is my, just real quick, are you guys able to see my screen still? It seemed like it just fell off. So if somebody can just message in there saying that they can see the screen, that would be nice. Okay, well, anyway, yes, so thanks, Shirley, I appreciate it. So she can see it still, good. Okay. Oops. This was just a little test I did a long time ago. So when we first got into the pandemic, everybody, we still are, I mean, I'm using Zoom right now. I wanted to test this program where can I be in VR while everybody else is presenting or is inside Zoom. So that's my son. He always tests stuff with me. He's on his phone and I'm in VR. You can see he's very bored, but anyway, I'm holding on an object. I'm throwing the object around. So I can I can meet in VR and share my presentation, whatever it is I need to do. I can be more comfortable and more productive in VR while everyone else is just in Zoom, kind of hanging out, watching me interact. So this was just like a test to see if it was doable, and it was. Spaces doesn't really exist anymore. They were just doing an experiment, but they did give us access to the software, so I can still play with this. Now, by the way, it doesn't have to be in Zoom. I can do all this inside Teams. I can do it inside Slack or Facebook Messenger, all this different stuff. So it's kind of a neat way to be in VR and interact with people who aren't. So, so this was in 2020, again, right before the pandemic. That's me in the middle. I'm in a hotel room in New York City, and I'm presenting to a crowd of people inside the Amalie Arena. And so you can see there's quite a few people in there with headsets on. Now, ideally, we had people from all across the US also in the meeting space. So you can see the screens on the left and right. I'm actually an avatar in that virtual space. And the people that have the headsets on are also avatars in that space. but then there's some people that are just in the audience looking at the presentation. So again, if you're in the 3D virtual reality space, it's way more interactive and engaging than not obviously being in there. Facebook has been doing a lot with what's called the Infinite Office. You can see here, she walks up to her dining room table, puts on her Oculus Quest headset, and there appears her office. And what's nice is you can move your screen anywhere you want in the house. You can make it as big as you want. You can make as many screens as you want. So right now I have 2 screens, but I can have it set up to where I've got 15 screens, and each one has a different project that I'm working on. Take the headset off, your office goes to wherever you need it to be. So now she's in her other room, and you can see she's got all these different screens up. By the way, she's using hand tracking. So we're getting away from using the controllers. And so now she's got all her controllers using her hands. It's a little bit more, it's just more comfortable that way than trying to virtually use the controller. So she's typing like she would in real life. And then over here on the right is spatial, and they have got this technology built into their system that's called pass-through. So you can see the grayed out stuff is the real world, but then you can tap the side of it and you're right back in virtual world. So you can be in 2 different spaces, the virtual world and also in the real world. So you can see that this guy's in the real world, you can still see him, but then you go back into virtual world and then you don't see him. So you can be in 2 spaces at once, which is great. And then immersed VR is another application where you can actually work inside VR. It's very similar to what Facebook is doing with the Infinite Office, but you can see that they're working in groups, and you can connect your actual computer in there, which is what I did earlier in that Spaces program. So you could have your computer up, and then you stream it basically into your virtual reality space, and then you can access whatever you need on your computer in VR, and then everybody else can work with you collaboratively. So you can see that it says that they're now in a coffee shop. If you want to meet people, you can meet in these types of spaces, in theaters, anywhere. So you're basically creating your world. You can create the world however you see how you need it to be. Okay, let's see. So I talked a little bit about the metaverse. I kind of fast forwarded this a little bit. I find this stuff to be very interesting. And this is sort of where we're heading right now. And so you see you got these little smart glasses, all your digital content pops up. What's nice is if you don't want all this digital content, you just want to relax, just take your glasses off, and you're back to your real world without all of this digital overlay stuff. So like the metaverse is kind of this merging of physical and digital. So we've got 2 worlds happening now. So I always talk about, we've had, Web 1.0, which is the internet, when the internet came out. And then we had Web 2.0, which is when everything became mobile and we started to use social media and we started to connect that way. And now I think this Web 3.0 is going to be the metaverse, where we're going to start, interacting with digital content like we see here in the real world. Exciting stuff, really exciting stuff. And excuse me. So what's interesting about this is that the human brain processes visuals 60,000 times faster than text. And 90% of the information that's transmitted to your brain is visual. So it's not surprising that huge technology companies are making their services accessible via through your phone's camera. And this article that I have up here is excellent. And I forgot to put the link on it. I will put the link on it and send you this later. So when we go into this metaverse, we're going to need to be able to find things. And so I don't know if you've ever used Google Lens on your phone, but Google Lens is actually trained its system so you can scan your environment with your camera, and it will instantly use its visual search capabilities to identify what that item is. And so you're going to start to see advertisements. You're going to be able to walk up to a building, and then all of these, all this information is going to be superimposed into your visual using these types of glasses. So, search in the metaverse, why brands should optimize for visual search. So just something to think about. And I'm being in a library, and I do a lot around searching and research, that kind of thing. This is really exciting, again, for me, being able to just kind of look at an object, not know what it is, have your phone like scan it and look at it through computer vision and artificial intelligence and figure out what it is. And then now you know something new. You learn something that you didn't know before. Excuse me. Microsoft Mesh is a new thing that's been just released. And it says here, it enables presence and shared experiences from anywhere on any device through mixed reality applications. Now, what's neat about this is a screenshot. So I was actually in this meeting. This was through the Microsoft Ignite conference. And what's really cool about this is I was in VR, right? So, and then this research scientist, I can't remember his name, but he came up and he was real. He looked just like he does there, like a real human inside VR. A lot of times you have like more cartoon looking avatars. Well, now we're starting to see real, volumetric 3D scans of actual humans. And this was really cool to see this live in alt space. So here's how they did it. So they were introducing Microsoft Mesh inside alt space VR, which is another meeting space to get in. So here's some video, and I'm not gonna play all of it, but just amazing stuff what you can do in here. So there's the volumetric studios. There's the research scientist that was physically in virtual reality. So yeah, they're getting it ready. Let me see if I can fast forward it a little bit. So he's wearing a HoloLens. So this is what they're seeing. So all of this stuff is floating around them. And again, it's hard to tell what it's like until you actually get inside that space. So you can see they're actually interacting with 3D content. They both have the necessary equipment on, and they can now see inside this car, and they can see all the flow that they need to look at for mechanical. These guys, so it's science fiction, but it's actually here now. So they're going to bring in content, and they're controlling these parts remotely. So it's like they're there, but they're not. So, and that's what the cartoon avatars look like. That's sort of what it looks like in alt space, but with programs like Spatial and Microsoft Mesh, you're going to start to see realistic avatars in that space. Okay. Just a couple quick things that we've done. We worked with the Imagine Museum, and they wanted veterans to come in and tell their oral history about their years of service, but then they wanted for these veterans to go in and do some sculpture. And so they went in VR and they did these sculptures, and then we were able to extract the files and then 3D print them, and then they put them on display. And then the veterans got to kind of explain the process. Like they never went inside VR before, but they went in, they designed these things, and then they were printed out. So it's kind of interesting that they designed it in VR, and then now they're physically able to hold their creation thanks to 3D printing technology. And so here's our proof of concept. My intern actually went inside VR, and he was in Tilt Brush, and he designed this little house. And he just kind of drew in 3 dimensions and created this house. Again, we exported it, and then you can see the 3D printed version of it. So neat stuff. Just some other things you can do. I worked with one of my friends here who does, she's a videographer, but she's starting to do virtual reality and 3D videos. So we went in and recorded for a VR promotional campaign. Went in and went to Johns Hopkins, and they did a simulation. And so we got to kind of see what it looked like. So people could put on a VR headset or, you know, look on their computer in 360 and be right there with these surgeons in that simulation. And what's cool is you can actually edit these types of videos with your headset on. So if you're doing 360 or 3D or virtual reality video, you can actually edit it in virtual reality. I talked about some 3D scanning. You know, we've done a lot of scanning projects. I actually work with younger kids to show them how it works. The deeper we get into this metaverse concept, which we're getting close, we're going to start to do more 3D scanning like this. So this was a project that I did with some students. American history students come in all the time. They have to do a 3D printing project. These students wanted to do a life mask, but they didn't want to put the stuff on their face, you know, the clay or whatever it is. So we did a 3D scan, and they did all the work themselves. So we 3D scanned the student, and then we put it in Blender, which is down here at the bottom. We put it in Blender and cleaned it up, and then we 3D printed the face. This was our first attempt, but it turned out really well. So we'll be doing a lot more of this type of work for these classes, which is, for me, again, it's exciting type of work. I don't know if you've seen this before, but Google, you could do a search for turtle or octopus or panda bear, and then Google will find that information for you. And, you know, Google does that very well. It's been doing it for a really long time, but they're now including 3D objects that you can then put in your space. So I was thinking, I'm like, man, I want to figure out a way to do this. So I did a prototype, and this is just like a pretend research paper. And let's say the student is talking about something in 3D, but, you know, most research papers are going to show like, hey, I have to give you a thumbnail, and that's in 2 dimensions. So now a student can write a paper and then embed 3D content like this. And so now the person reading the paper can move it around, but they can also put it into their space. So now I'm writing about this helmet, this 3D or a sculpture, whatever it is, and I can give everybody access to my file. And then most people, I'm not going to say all, but most people have access to a phone that can do this. They now read the paper, they go to a section of the paper that has this 3D object in it, they hit it, and now they're viewing it in their space, and they can resize it if they want, and that sort of thing. So I would love to see more research papers kind of look like this, and I think we will. I actually worked with a student not long ago, and we did that skybox, that 360 image inside VR, and we did it with a 3D version of a couple galaxies. So we were able to show what that looks like as like a planetarium, basically, in VR. This is kind of a neat tool, because you can actually be in the real world. You can see an object, you can just scan it with your phone or tablet or whatever, and then just drag it into your document. And you can do this now in programs like Spatial. So if I'm meeting with somebody and I have this object in my physical space, I can scan it, or in this case, like you can see, he's got text that he puts in here, and it puts all the text in there. Now you can just kind of scan anything and put it into your paper or into your VR. Of course, you still need to cite the source. You don't want to just copy physical items out and put them in your paper. You definitely want to be able to, cite, give credit where credit's due, that kind of thing. So research is going to be a lot different here pretty soon. So I mentioned these glasses. We're starting to see, more glasses instead of these big things you wear in your head. But it's, pretty soon it's going to be, even contact lenses, that's actually a thing now, believe it or not. But with light field technology, and if you look down here at the volumetric, I'm not going to play all of it, we're going to start to be in this metaverse. You're not going to know. I mean, you'll know because you can touch yourself and realize, I'm in my house, but I can pretty much meet in any space with anybody, and it doesn't matter time or anything. This is just a volumetric video. So they captured every point of movement and light in, simultaneously. So again, I'll send you this presentation later. It's really cool to see how they actually did this. So now, films are going to start to be, you're going to be able to see films in every angle and view the film from different perspectives. So here's the horse perspective. So as the horse is running through, maybe you want to see the movie as the, from the horse's view, or from this cowboy who's been, whatever. So you're seeing it from all these different points of view, and it's recorded once because these cameras capture everything at the same time. So I'm always thinking, imagine being in VR, like Google Earth, right? And then going down to Street View, which has been a thing for a long time, and then being able to toggle to an AR switch, and now you're almost like you're walking on the street of wherever it is in the world. And then you could meet with people that have the similar technology, and then just kind of be in that space. Even though you're in your house, you're meeting with people from all over the world in their space or in your space. This was great. A couple years ago, I was able to get Charlie Crist to come into the Innovation Lab, and he never tried virtual reality before. And he was very impressed. We did like he got to go into the Pearl Harbor simulation and kind of relive that dreadful day. But for history, it's really an interesting way to actually relive that type of stuff. So, and then spatial, this is an early beta test. So on the, let's see, I'll go on the right side first. This was in my office, and all these holograms are in my space, but they're from all over the world. And so this, in this case, one of the designers brought in a model of a phone store, like Sprint or something like that. So now we're all able to be inside this store. And what's neat, as you'll see in a second, the designer brings it down really small. You can see him, and he's in San Francisco, by the way, the guy that's bringing his model down. So now we're all able, and I'm in Seminole in this point in my office, I'm able to then, we're all able to look at this model kind of like in a dollhouse view. We can all look at it and add notes to it and all this kind of thing. So it's a really good way to collaborate in the space. And so this is an augmented reality version of it, which is what it was when it first came out. Now they do both. They do augmented reality and they also do virtual reality. So what's cool, just a minute ago, we were able to be inside that little model. And that's sort of what we're doing with the Lipa Ratner Museum right now too. So this was fun. So I was on the left side, that's spatial. And you can see there's a lot of us in there. And we, Spatial had a meeting with Joanna Stern and Christopher Mims from the Wall Street Journal. And you can see on the image in the middle, you can see that Christina Mims is right there. And what was interesting is a couple days later, I saw her on CNBC. And I was like, wow, that's weird. Like, it just seemed like I knew her because her avatar looks like her. And, you're in that room with her and, you're speaking to her and it's like she's in the same room with you. It's incredible. But then seeing her on TV within a couple days later, it was just pretty exciting. I felt like I knew her. So if you want to do some spatial stuff, like I said, it works on desktop computers, tablets. There's a mobile app for iOS 13 plus or Android, and also VR and AR headsets. It works on an Oculus. So if you're doing AR and VR, it works on a Quest 2, the Valve Index. It actually works now also on the HTC Vive, the Microsoft HoloLens, Nreal glasses, and a bunch of other new ones are coming out too. So I'm just going to leave this up for just a split second because because I know there's only a couple people in here, but I do want to let you know that this is an invitation. So if you ever want to meet inside Spatial, we can do it. You can always message me, and we can set that up. And it's really cool. Again, you don't have to be inside VR or use an AR system. You can use your computer or you can use your cell phone. So again, this is something I can send you all this information later. And if you want to experience it, then I'd be happy to set it up and we can meet in that space. Here's my contact info. I wanted to throw that there. And then I've got a bunch of supplemental slides, but I'm gonna leave it. Whoops, I'm gonna leave it here for now. The contact. What I want to do is check to see if anybody has any questions. Okay. I was checking the YouTube section too. It looks like YouTube is still working, which is good. Shirley, thank you. Yeah, you know, like I said, my contact info is up. I'm going to send you guys the, actually, no, if you're right here right now, let me just do this. I'm going to go ahead and share this with you guys right now so I don't forget, and I'll email it to everybody later on too. Share. Nice and slow. Anyone with the link, we're going to copy the link. And I'm going to paste this now into the Zoom chat here. So now you've got access to that. And for those of you on YouTube, I'm going to go ahead and post that as well. And there's that. So yeah, if there's no questions or comments, definitely please keep in touch. Let me know if there's any questions or if you want to try any of this stuff out. Just let me know. I'd be happy to meet with you in this space, and I'd be happy to work on any projects that you want to do in this space as well. It's really a fun technology. So if there aren't any questions or comments, I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing, and I'm going to stop the stream to YouTube. Let's see if I can remember how to do that.